I want to dive into our cash tag segment as it's time to hit some social media. And for that, we're going to bring in Megan Brantley, the VP of Research at LikeFolio.com. And we have Fast Market contributor Evelyn Baker back with us. Evelyn, Beyond Meat is what we are going to be covering today.
Yeah, people love talking about Beyond Meat, and it's no surprise. Since it listed on the NASDAQ on May 2nd, its stock has taken off. And now it's even made its way to some fast food and quick service restaurants. But Megan, I'm wondering whether or not in your data, you found that people are actually opting for these patties over beef or a competitor like Impossible Foods.
Yes, whenever we looked at this, I think the first chart that you're going to see shows purchase intent for Beyond Meat and Impossible Foods. So both of these companies provide a plant-based alternative to a traditional beef and also sausage. They're really developing that plant-based meat market. And you can see that right now we have explosive growth for both companies. Something that I like to do regularly, on our dashboard is sort all of our companies. We cover over 250, and I sort that by purchase intent growth just to see, what's booming. And of all of those companies right now, Beyond Meat and Impossible Foods are numbers 3 and 4, respectively, in terms of growth. So we're seeing extremely high consumer demand for these products. And I think that, that's obviously been reflected in how Beyond Meat has performed since IPO.
Yeah, Megan, I'm a little skeptical on this whole meat thing. But that being said, when you guys take that data and you're seeing the mentions there on Beyond Meat and Impossible Foods, do you see any of the negatives about that, or is this mostly a positive trend that you guys are seeing through your data?
From a sentiment perspective, Beyond Meat is around 80% positive right now. It's never dipped below that, so that's actually pretty good. I think what's interesting is, people who are choosing this plant-based option, they're doing it for a couple of reasons. We see a lot of people saying that there are perceived health benefits. Now, whenever you actually get down to the macronutrient level, I'm not sure how that breaks out. I think that it might be a little bit fewer calories, but more sodium for Beyond Meat. But you also have an environmental factor that the companies are really advertising, how, lower carbon emissions and a less strain on resources. And then they're also playing at the animal warfare. So you have an option for people who like the taste of meat, but maybe they want to be a little bit healthier. Maybe they want to feel like they're impacting the environment in a positive way, or maybe, they do care about animals and that's why they're not eating meat. So it's interesting. You don't have to be a vegetarian or a vegan to feel good about yourself for choosing this product.
That may be the case, Megan. We always talk about in terms of technology, there's early adopters and there's late adopters. I'm going to be a late adopter when it comes to Beyond Meat, but it does look like it's going to be something that sticks around for a while. And when I look at your guys' data, even comparing it to Impossible Foods and just your plant-based protein purchase intent in general here, this stock's been parabolic, but so is the purchase intent data. So to me, my question is when you're comparing it to that, I know it's early on in terms of its trading, has it outpaced that?
I think that if you look at Beyond Meat IPO'd around 25, but first trade I think was around 46, something like that.
Exactly.
And now they're up to near 100. And so that's pretty substantial growth. The PI levels that we're seeing, it's 240% about purchase intent growth. So honestly, they're both booming. It's hard to gauge to say, is PI growing maybe a little bit slower, but 238% year-over-year purchase intent growth, that's insane.
I'm wondering if people are actually eating less meat or if it's just seeming like a trend because corporate America's hopped on board. But either way, Beyond Meat has earnings, their first report today after the market closes. And our first tweet from Lance says that a lot of call buyers coming in ahead of earnings, oh my, grubbing up plant burgers.
Yeah, I look at this, and this is speculative trade, and to kind of take on what Megan said about the purchase intent, it's following stock. It's one of those things, it's new to the market, everybody wants to try it, whether you think it's helping the environment or not. At some point it's going to stabilize, right? And the valuation's getting pretty rich in here. But that's not to say that, Megan, like typically when you see that move to the upside as far as purchase intent, and the 80% positivity on your sentiment data, that can get extended for longer than you would expect, correct?
Right. And I think that it's important to note that we're seeing some support too in other macro topics that we track. We take a look at different diets consumers are trying, whether it's ketogenic, whether it's low carb, vegan. And right now, our top trending diet that we're following is plant-based. It's got about 43% year-over-year growth. So I think that, that chart that you see, that's people who are buying and seeking out plant-based protein. So I think that that's encouraging for both Beyond Meat and Impossible Foods, because you're kind of being bolstered by this shifting, consumer diet.
And also, it seems now that people who are seeking out these plant-based proteins don't have to just go to the grocery store to pick it up. They can also go to your local Del Taco or TGI Fridays in Beyond Meat's case. But this next tweet is from Trisha, who says, at Whataburger, it'd be awesome if you'd serve a plant-based burger along with those awesome fries. I'm a Texas girl, so when I see Whataburger, I had to pick this tweet.
Whataburger, what is that?
Whataburger is exactly
that. It's a big burger chain in Texas, and if they offered a plant-based protein alternative, it seems like people might buy it.
And think about this, and I think going into earnings, and I think part of that euphoria with the stock price anyway, and that's what I'll typically look at, is the fact that everybody expects a big announcement soon from Beyond Meat that they're going to partner with a big chain, and that's maybe McDonald's. Yum Brands is actually looking into creating that. But you got competition coming down the pipeline. Tyson Foods is coming out with the plant-based protein. Nestle, global food companies also ramping that up, and there's some smaller players that aren't IPO'd yet. Impossible Foods, and we actually had somebody on the watch list yesterday that created their own butcher, I believe, Beyond Butcher or something like that. So there are competition coming down the pipeline in this space.
And as Megan points out here, the plant-based protein purchase intent is growing as well. This is a space that's growing, so there's plenty of room for potential, other people to come in, other companies to come in and continue to grow this movement into something maybe more, maybe a staple, maybe it'll be somewhere on the food pyramid here before long. But Megan, we'll look forward to having you back on talking Beyond Meat, maybe in another quarter and a couple months, just to see if they can continue this basically insane purchase intent growth going forward. But thanks for joining us this morning, and we'll let you go right there.